Good evening, everyone. This is the fifth installment. Hold just a second. I think I hear a little bit of an echo. All right. This is the fifth episode of Meet the Candidates. My first guest tonight is Judge Danielle Mitchell-Sims. She was appointed to this position about a year ago this month. And now she is running to keep her position. Welcome, Danielle, to Meet the Candidates.
Thank you so much, Camila. I'm so excited to be here and so glad that you had me on. I love the opportunity to try to get the word out about me more to everyday people.
Well, tell us what you do in your current position.
Okay, so I am the judge in Shelby County General Sessions Civil Court Division 3. Shelby County General Sessions Civil Court is the most voluminous court in the state of Tennessee. If you are going to court and it's not criminal, you will more than likely end up in one of those 6 divisions. We handle cases mainly about money disputes. So debt collection, evictions, landlord-tenant issues. If you hire a contractor and they don't do good work, or if a contractor doesn't get paid, those type of things are handled in our court. Anything that's under the $25,000 jurisdictional level and things dealing with property. So most of the time, you're going to end up in General Sessions Civil.
So I know that you've been in this position for about 1 year now. What are some of the things that you've learned over the past year?
So that's right. I was appointed actually on the 26th of July and I started August 3rd of last year. So it'll be coming up on a full year the day before the election. What I've learned is that a lot of people feel like when they come to court, any court, that they're just a number, and that when you slow down and actually talk to them and treat each case individually, that eases people. It relaxes their nerves. You can get to agreements more quickly. People aren't as likely to be defensive about it. I've learned that, most people in Memphis and Shelby County are hardworking people who are doing the very best they can. And that sometimes you need a little bit of help. And I'm grateful every day to be able to meet Memphians and see citizens and help them through their lives.
And before you were judge, you were a judicial commissioner, correct?
Yes, I was.
And what was your job?
So a judicial commissioner is basically a magistrate judge on the General Sessions Criminal Court. I served in that role for 5 years. So we review affidavits of complaint, affidavits of arrest, search warrants, subpoenas for probable cause. So when someone is arrested, the police draft up an affidavit, list out the facts that they think meets the probable cause of the crimes that they've charged, and they bring it to a judicial commissioner. The commissioner reviews those facts to ensure that probable cause is actually met. Once the commissioner approves that, then that person's either arrested or given a misdemeanor citation. Commissioners also set bonds. They hear orders of protection. They hear civil asset forfeiture cases. Everything that starts in a criminal case goes through a judicial commissioner. So we are the judicial commissioners, and I say we because they're like family, but judicial commissioners are the first line that a criminal defendant will meet when they come to criminal court.
So how did your position as a judicial commissioner prepare you for your current position as judge?
So one other thing that commissioners do is sit for elected judges when they have to be out. So I was able to, as a part of my job, sit for General Sessions criminal judges on a number of occasions. So you learn how to run a courtroom, you learn how to control your docket, you learn all the things that it takes to run a court. So I think being a judge is the legal part of it and also the procedure part. And that's how you run a courtroom, how people are treated, how you make sure that everybody has, on the civil side, the notice that they need. On the criminal side, how, people come in and understand whether it's, their arraignment, their first setting, or their disposition where they need to resolve the case in some way. So I think as a commissioner, as a magistrate judge, I learned how to be a judge. It was just on the criminal side, I applied criminal law, and on the civil side, I'm now doing civil law.
So as part of your platform, you say that you are a competent jurist, compassionate leader, and committed to fairness. And speaking of fairness, I know in civil court, a lot of times you have a creditor who's represented by a lawyer, and the creditor may be a big corporation, a hospital, a landlord, a real estate management firm with a lawyer, and they may have half of the docket for that court setting. And
often the whole docket.
A defendant or somebody who's accused, a respondent, and they may feel like, how can I get my fair day in court when I'm representing myself and I can't afford a lawyer? I couldn't afford to pay this bill or my rent or whatever. So that's why I'm here. Why should I feel like that I will find fairness in this space?
So, that is a challenge. A number of our litigants, whether plaintiffs or defendants, are pro se, which means, that they represent themselves. And that there is that perception that, when people come in, that this lawyer knows everything that they're trying to do, and the lawyer is friends with everybody, and we're going to run this through. But I do think, and I know in my courtroom especially, I make it a practice to inform people of their rights as much as possible, and also inform them of the options that are available to them. In the legal field, there's always been a big, or at least recently been a big discussion about access to justice, and how can a person who does not understand the law, get the same fairness that a lawyer would. And there are a number of resources available here in the county to help people. The first is there's an attorney of the day advice legal clinic that's offered through the courts. It's on the first and third Thursday of every month. The Memphis Area Legal Services provides pro bono work for people who qualify. The Community Legal Center provides services for those who don't meet the income threshold for MALS, but have a higher income. And then for evictions, we've got the Emergency Rental Assistance Program now, which is able to help people in that way. I think the best we can do is make sure people are aware of the resources that are available to help them. The court also has a mediation program that I find particularly helpful when both parties are pro se, but often too when there are lawyers involved, because even if you may not be legally able to prove your claim in court, if you're able to mediate with a trained Rule 31 mediator, and you and the other party can come to a resolution together, I think that people feel better about the way their case is being disposed of. So there are options available. I inform everyone of those options. I give continuances for people to take advantage of them. And we go from there. Some people still do elect to represent themselves, but it won't be from a lack of knowing that there are other options and that they are at a disadvantage.
So I realized that hold on. A lot of times in general sessions civil court, there are disputes between family members, people who are in a relationship or used to be in a relationship. And a lot of times it's somebody who was trying to help somebody else that ended up in a bad situation. Somebody may have co-signed for a car or loan somebody a large sum of money. So what advice or what do you say to people? How can you avoid being in a situation like that?
Well, okay, so the first thing, and I've had cases recently, if you are living with your partner, but you are not married, I strongly encourage you to speak with your children or whomever your heirs will be about what you want to happen, and draft a will or draft some sort of end of life document that shows where you want your assets to go. It it cuts down on a lot of confusion once a person has passed. If you are going to loan someone money, I encourage you to put that in writing. Okay. If you are going to co-sign a loan for someone, I probably wouldn't recommend that, but certainly read the contract completely. If you have questions, ask the questions. If there's somebody you know that can help you with this, do not feel pressured to sign paperwork right then, right there. If you don't read it, if you can't read it, or if you can't understand it. And I think that's what a lot of common problems come in because people come in, they sign these 3 or 4 page agreements that's in 10.5, and they say, well, he or she that had me sign this said XYZ, and it says ABC, but you took their word for it. You don't have to take anybody's word for it. You need to take the time to actually know what it is you're signing, know what happens if you default on that contract, or if you fail to meet it, or even if the other person, if you're a co-signer, fails to live up to that responsibility. So most of the time I see people get in trouble out of haste or negligence. And so take your time and then really take care of your assets and your responsibilities.
Yeah, it's so important because a lot of times it's an older person, maybe a family member who is just really trying to help somebody.
Right, right. So we get a lot of times where, an older family member has let someone stay in their home. That older family member has let a family member stay in their home. The older family member passed, and then they get an eviction notice from that person's child. Or, they've loaned money to their niece for a specific purpose, and she just doesn't pay them back. It's, I thought about the phrase, the old adage that no good deed goes unpunished earlier today from something that I did. So sometimes it is that way, but I think you have to take it. It's incumbent upon the person to really try to protect themselves from the beginning.
Yeah. So, what do you consider some of your greatest professional accomplishments?
Oh, well, I consider being appointed as judge when I was to be probably the pinnacle so far of my success. When I went to law school, I wanted to go into politics. I didn't want to be a politician. I didn't want to run for anything. But as I started working in that world, I knew that wasn't going to be where my heart's desire was. When I graduated from law school, I clerked for a federal judge, which is a highlight for Judge Bernice Donald. But then it was 2008, 2009 when I was done with that, and the market had crashed. So I was out there, and I'm sure you saw me and remember me, Camila, and in private practice, just trying to hustle and make it. And I would see, and when I look back from where I came when I started practicing, and how much I've learned and how much I've grown in the practice of the law, I really am grateful and am blessed to be able to be in this position. I think one of the other achievements that I'm extremely proud of is, and it's not necessarily professional as it relates to the law, but I'm the administrator of my church, Mount Moriah East Baptist Church. My pastor puts a lot of trust and faith in me to do things and get them done. And that personally means a lot to me. To be able to have something that you can pour your energy and effort into outside of your work has been very fulfilling. I appreciate the respect and the advice, the respect and the esteem from knowing that someone like that sees something in me.
So what is your job as administrator?
So I am I like to call myself the head gopher, but what I am is a servant. I'm a servant leader. I work with my pastor, helping facilitate the ministries activities of the church, helping to coordinate events and bring in guests. I work with all the ministries, just about, well, not just about. I do work with all the ministries, making sure that people have what they need. I'm part of the leadership team, and I just so and most churches in Memphis, people are just trying to do their best to get things going. And we have a volunteer staff, and I'm a part of that, and I'm happy to do that.
Well, thank you. Do you have any closing words for our listeners?
Yes, well, of course, I would appreciate y'all's vote during early voting on August 4th. I've been in this role for a year. I was a magistrate judge for 5 years before that. I've practiced in civil court for many, many years before that. I am qualified for this role. I've been endorsed by a number of organizations. And I was voted best qualified by the lawyers and judges of the Shelby County Bar, of which I'm so grateful. I am the judge, and I'm doing the job every day. And I hope that you all will keep me during this August election.
Thank you so much for joining me, and have a good evening.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Good night, everyone.
Good night. All right, our next guest is Magistrate Lee Wilson. Can you hear me? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you for being here on Meet the Candidates. First of all, tell us what your current position is.
Well, first, I'd just like to say thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate that.
You're most welcome.
My current position is I am the lead judicial commissioner for General Sessions Criminal Court. And in that position, I supervise the other 9 judicial commissioners, so there are a total of 10 of us. And but we all share the same work. I'm just a supervisor. So, we set bonds. We interview the initial paperwork that is when someone is arrested. We review that to see if there's probable cause. We set bonds. We sign search warrants. We handle orders of protection. Also do seizures. So we set for the judges in their absence too. That's a big part of what we do as well. We set
Yes.
for the judges.
So drug court, Division 8 is a specialty court. It's drug court. And for those who do not know what that means, can you please explain what a drug court program is?
Okay. The drug court program is a program which is designed for persons arrested for a low-level felony drug offense. And they don't have any crimes of violence in their past history. And they are truly the ones who are abusers of drugs and not actually just selling drugs. Now, this program will allow them to do 2 things. Well, actually does 3 things. Number 1 is gets them clean, which is the most important thing. It rehabilitates them. And also we have job placement and things like that for them. But the main thing also is that it allows them to get their cases dismissed, which is a big thing if you're charged with a felony. It allows that case to be dismissed and to get your record expunged. So you get a fresh start all the way around. You get a fresh start being drug-free. You get a fresh start with a clean record. And so it's a great program. And of course, it's one that's needed here in Shelby County because we have a lot of people who are addicted to drugs. And a lot of them really want to help and want to get off of drugs, but they, for whatever reason, they have not gotten into the right program, or they don't, and they relapse and things of that nature. So it's really something that's needed here in Shelby County. And it was started back in 1997 with the help of the judge who's in there right now, who's Tim Dwyer. So the court goes back quite a ways. And he is retiring this year. After being in that court since 1997. So this court is kind of, some people call it his baby, but he's endorsing me to take it over. He feels confident in my abilities, and I have some ideas that I want to try in terms of keeping the court going forward, not to let it lose the momentum that it has built up over all of these years.
So I like to think, as a lawyer, I think of drug court or drug cases an opportunity to show that you know the Constitution and the law, because drug cases almost always deal with Fourth Amendment, because
Exactly.
there's usually a search, whether it's a search of a car, a search of a home, a search of your, physical body, your person, your pants or your jacket or your backpack. And as a lawyer, I always feel like I can file a motion and have a hearing on a drug case, because there may be some constitutional issues there. But what I also feel like sometimes judges are hesitant to grant motions, especially in general sessions court. And the Constitution applies in all the courts,
Right.
not just
Exactly.
criminal
Exactly.
court. So, what do you what's your take on search and seizure and being courageous when it comes to applying the Constitution?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head, um, because probably the vast majority of those cases have some kind of search issue involved. And as the lead commissioner or as a judicial commissioner, we actually see that on the front end. One of the very first questions we have when somebody is brought in um, charged with drugs, we look at the reason for the stop, the reason for the search, and all of that at the very beginning, because that's important in determining whether this person can even be charged. As you know, if there's a search issue, the case could be dismissed based on the search, because the drugs are suppressed, other evidence gets suppressed. So, I try to follow the law and look at it on a case by case basis. And sometimes when the officers bring cases in, we just tell them, we ask them, why'd you stop them, or something like that. If they don't give us a good reason, then we tell them on the front end that we're not going to allow you to arrest this person. So, you know, it's it's a it's an area, of course, where it's always changing. There's always new case law too, as you know. And um, the Supreme Court that we have now, I think, is probably scaling back. It's a very conservative court, so I feel like it's probably going to scale back on some of those Fourth Amendment search and seizure rights. That's my feeling. They will probably scale it back, and we'll have less protection. Uh,
Well, I hope not.
yeah, I hope not too, but that's just my feeling.
Yeah. So, why do you feel like you are the most qualified candidate for this position?
Well, that's an easy question for me. Number one, I've been practicing for probably about 35 years. I've been practicing long enough that I had the opportunity to practice with your father's son. But
That's
I've
right.
been, but I've been, I started as a public defender in the mid 80s. And from there, I went to the district attorney's office, where I tried probably well over 100 jury trials while I was in that office. And I left there and I went into private practice. And I practiced with Judge Jerry Stokes and Judge Glenn Wright. We were in practice together. We handled criminal cases. I was a part-time divorce referee. We had personal injury cases, bankruptcy cases, and of course, criminal law. And after that, I was appointed as the judge in Division 10. Uh, that's when Judge Tony Johnson passed in 2009. And we did not have our domestic violence court had not been in effect for several years, and they wanted to start it back. And so I was part of that group that started our domestic violence court. So I have experience with a specialty court. And now I've been the lead judicial commissioner for about 11 years now. Well, I've been a commissioner for about 11 years, the lead commissioner for about the last 3 years. So you can see that I just have a variety of experience, probably more experience than anyone else. I've done everything you can do in general sessions, from being a commissioner to a judge to a prosecutor to a public defender. But more than that, I've sat as the judge in the drug court in Judge Dwyer's absence. So I've actually presided over the drug court. And as a lawyer in private practice, I actually put clients into the drug court, and now I've presided over those cases. And the times that I've been in there, I've sat in that court enough that I came familiar with some of the defendants and counsel with them actually during the drug court proceedings, during the drug court program. So I've actually worked in the drug court program as a judge. So looking at my experience and what I bring to the table, that's why I think I'm the most qualified for this position.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for joining me on the 5th episode of Meet the Candidates. I think it's so important for people to know who's running for these positions so they can make informed decisions, because you all are making very important decisions about their lives. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
All right. My next guest is Antonio Parkinson. He's a state representative for District 98. And if you all will hold just 1 second. Okay. Antonio Parkinson is my next guest. Can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, you were mowing the lawn or doing the electric slide a minute ago. I said,
Man, look, we're in the middle of early voting. Look, I've been to 2 different events, came from my office, because we got these poll workers out there. We're trying to make keep things going. It's hot, poll workers dropping down like flies. We got to, keep them motivated. So it's been a day. Been a good day, though.
Thank you for taking a little bit of time to join us. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, and I think the main thing I want to talk to you about. But tell us where District 98 is in the community.
So today, District 98 is in Raleigh. It's the biggest part of it, 38128, and then we represent some of 38107. Then we represent also North Memphis area, a little bit of Midtown, just a little sliver of Midtown up close to the Snowden School area. And then the rest is all of North Memphis between Jackson and the freeway. So all the way down that line, Douglas, Hyde Park, all of that. We got some in Nutbush also. And so those are the areas right now. But with redistricting, they've taken all of my North Memphis stuff and all of my stuff that was west of Raleigh, basically away from me, and stretched me out instead all the way from Raleigh to Countrywood, Wolf Chase area, Cordova area.
So what do you do as a state representative? What are some of the decisions that you make regarding your community?
Okay, first let me say thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. Appreciate your platform also, sister. Yeah, it's about time. Look,
I know.
Right. Yeah, long overdue. So statutorily, we got a couple of duties. One is to make laws for the state, obviously, and the second is to pass the state budget. But we have 2 duties that are not our statutory duties, but to me that are the most important duties. That's one is constituent services, of course, but the other one I think is the most important of all of our duties, and that is to educate the public. Educate the public on some of these policies that are coming down the pike, and to be able to put it, put this language, take the language from legalese to layman's terms, so that anyone can understand it. And that's what we do. I think that's the most important part of
it. Well, you caused a lot of commotion recently with House Bill 2698, and you said that you believe that there ought to be a state law that mandates that if you are not married, if you are a man, you are not married to the woman, you have a child with this woman, or you think you have a child with this woman, you must get a DNA test in order for it to be official that you are the father of this child. Why do you think this is important? Why do you think it is good for the community?
Look, so you wasted no time. Jump right in there. And so let me say this. When I've been elected now for 12 years, right? And when I first ran, I ran on strong, decisive leadership. So you'll never catch me waffling in the middle, or being indecisive on where I am on issues. If I push some legislation, I'm passionate about it, and there's obviously a method to my madness. So this year we ran 2 pieces of legislation surrounding DNA. And let me go back a little bit first. Let me go back some. I started working on child support and paternity legislation back in 2013. So this is not new. We were able to change the child support laws to cap, going back on child support for new cases to 5 years with evidence supporting a reason for going back to 5 years. Before that, child support laws, you could go back to the birth of the child. And so we didn't just arrive at that. What happened was started doing town hall meetings. How I got there was this. I was in the barbershop, and this guy, he came up to me and he said he had been trying to reach me, and he said that I was in a relationship, long-term relationship, and there was a child that was brought forward, and the grandmother of the child, the maternal grandmother of the child, told the young man that might not be his child, and it was because her daughter had still been messing with her other child's father. And so he said he went and got a DNA test. When he got the DNA test, it came back that it was not his child. And so he confronted the mother about it. She got mad. They broke up. And then after they broke up, she went down and put him on child support. And so he wanted to try to present the evidence to the magistrate at the time. And at first they wouldn't accept the evidence. Then they did do a mandatory DNA test, and it came back through the courts that it wasn't his child by DNA, but it was past the 5-year statute of limitation. I mean, literally by about a month or so. And they told him, basically gabbled him out, said he's going to be responsible for that child until that child ages out of child support. And I didn't know at the time that there was a 5-year statute of limitation, or that this could even be possible. If DNA says that you are not the father of this child, that you will still be stuck with financially with the child, right? But then my mind shifted to, well, if he's not the actual father, then there is an actual father out there who may want to be in their child's life, but doesn't have an opportunity to possibly be in their child's life because they either don't know that they have a child, or through omission or whatever the case may be, but they're being robbed of the opportunity to be a father or be in their child's life. And I thought about the right of that child who is growing up with possibly missing out on an opportunity to be bonded with or be and have his or her biological father in their life. And then the rest of the story is what that young man was. He did not pay child support. He was ruled in contempt. He lost his driver's license, got pulled over riding dirty, went to jail. When he went to jail for the few days that he was in jail for riding dirty, he lost his job, and it created a real issue for him. And so I just wanted to see how we can start straightening that stuff up, right? And so we kicked 2 ideas. We pushed 2 bills this year. One was mandatory DNA tests for only for those. Now keep in mind, it was only for those who were going to sign the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, you would have had to have a DNA test to say that you are actually the biological father before you sign, before that voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, or the birth certificate in layman's terms for some people, before that voluntary acknowledgement of paternity would be validated. So they can voluntarily sign, but you would have to have produced a DNA test to show that you're actually that father, actually the right person to be signing on that birth certificate. And so in the second, I'm sorry, I can barely hear you.
What if someone says, I don't need a DNA test. I've been, dating this woman. I feel like, she's an honest person, and I'm 100% sure that I'm the only person that's involved with her. And I want to sign the birth certificate. I don't want a DNA test. I choose not to have one.
Right.
And I want to take care of this child. I want to financially support this child.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And we have things in the law that allow you to do that. Adoption and other things, marriage and other things that are already existing in the law. But we also want to make sure that you are not stealing someone's child from them, by beating them to the signature line. So under the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity laws right now, and actually all of this stuff is set up by the feds, not the states. So the feds give the states instruction and then also send money behind it for them to follow those instructions. Lots and lots and lots and lots of money, millions and millions and millions of dollars. So it's really Fed sanctioned in partnership with the state child theft, so to speak, because it's a matter of who signs that voluntary acknowledgement of paternity first with the okay of the mother. So you can actually have a biological father who may, and I lean to this understanding, I think that most fathers want to be in the lives of their children. The ones we hear the most noise about are the deadbeats. But if you do an overlay of all of the fathers across America versus the deadbeats, I think it's a small percentage of deadbeats in comparison to those fathers that actually want to be in their children's lives. And so I lean to that understanding, and I think that parent has a right. But let's talk about the right from that child's vantage point. We're talking about rights in heredity. We're talking about inheritance. We're talking about health, right? The child can grow up and need a lung or something, and their biological parent may be a match for them. Their biological parent may have inheritance, items that are set up for that child to receive in the event that biological parent leaves here, right? And so we're talking about the what I would consider the human right of a child to have under the right circumstances, of course, obviously not if the father is abusive or this, that, and other, but under ordinary circumstances to have their father in their lives and vice versa.
So what about the argument that if a child grows up thinking that one person is their father, would they not be traumatized if they are 10 years old? Because now the 5-year statute of limitations is not there, correct? So they're 10, maybe 15 years old, and you come to them and you say, actually, this man is not your father. And the mother may not even know who the father is. I mean, they may have some idea, or I know you made the counter argument, but maybe he wasn't someone who she wanted to be the father. He might be, in prison, doesn't have a job, whatever. Mm-hmm. So how is that not harmful to children?
So, and you're helping to make my point. So the purpose of doing the DNA test with the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity will cut all of that out. So if the DNA test was required when somebody signed a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, we would not even be having this conversation because the right father would be on the birth certificate.
So it would not be retroactive?
No. Okay. No. So you're talking about two pieces of legislation, though. Okay. So one was mandatory DNA tests for anyone that wants to sign a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity. right? That's one bill. That would cut any of these issues that we're talking about completely out.
Okay.
Because the right person, the biological father, would be signed onto the birth certificate. Now, that's one.
If that person is identified and if that person is actually willing to sign and take the DNA test.
Understand the mechanics of the legislation. Remember, we were talking about someone that was willing to sign a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity. Because guess what? Those that are not willing to sign, that's what the child support cases are for. And guess what's going to happen when they bring a child support case before the courts? They're going to mandate
a DNA
test. Right. Right. And so that was the whole method to the madness in doing it. Because here's the thing, we want to eliminate the possibilities, number one, of a child finding out later that this guy is not my father, or let's say, for instance, a child not knowing and having their father in their lives from the beginning. There's a lot of life and a lot of teaching and a lot of guidance that takes place in them early years, right? And a lot of memories that are being created, in all of those years. As a matter of fact, I'm a father, right? I'm a father. I got two girls, and I'm thankful. And one of the girls, I had to go and find out that she was mine. And so, but I'm so thankful that I did, and I literally had a life full of enrichment watching her grow up, my biological child, that I almost missed.
So the Department of Human Services is saying that they will be overburdened, overwhelmed, and not able to afford taking care of all of these children who may not be acknowledged by somebody. What do you say in response to that?
You got your beat button ready? Right. Yeah, I'm uncut. Now that's some bullshit, right? And so, because if we're mandating DNA on the front end, you won't have this problem on the back end. Number one, right? And so that's a bunch of crap, right? What they should have been saying is the truth is that, oh man, if we don't allow these guys to blindly sign, then we stand the possibility of losing millions and millions of dollars from the feds. Department of Human Services is the biggest department in the state of Tennessee, the largest, right? But it's also the most federally dependent department in the state of Tennessee. And Tennessee as a state is the most federally dependent state in the union. So this is why there's motivation not to make sure that these guys continue to blindly sign.
Well, where is the bill now? Where is it on the path to become law?
So the bill for mandatory DNA tests, we took that one. We took that one off notes. Actually, we're doing what we call a summer study. There's actually going to be a study on that piece of legislation so that we can know how we're going to move forward with fixing this problem. The bill that removed the 5-year statute of limitation, that one passed, and so that's the law now. Law today. That even if it's after 5 years, you can still now undo a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity if you find out by DNA that the child is not yours. Okay. And so here's something that we're looking at for next year. Actually defining, and since you're so interested in this, this is gonna be some good dialogue for you, right? Actually defining paternity fraud in the code, in the law. Right. And so we're going to have to take some bold steps. Here's the thing though, for me, I put everything on this. I'm not trying to be punitive to women that have children, and but I think that the truth, especially in that moment, is necessary. If and that truth doesn't necessarily mean that, hey, this is not your child. It could mean that, hey, there's a possibility that this is not your child, right? And we just need to have an honest moment, because think about it. We talk about all of the heartbreak if a man walks out of life with a child and this and other. Well, let's also talk about the heartbreak for that individual, that male, that father, right? Let's talk about the heartbreak.
Biological father.
Right, the heartbreak for the child, right? But that all could have been avoided had there just been honesty on the front end from the adults, right? From the adults. And you know, and so, and you know, and I think there's now you know, with the changes that's coming, because it's going to change, right? Because, and it's not just something that I feel strongly about, but a lot of my Republican colleagues also feel strongly about this, because it's not just affecting Black communities. It was the rural district attorneys that wanted me to help them in, you know, putting a stopgap on new cases, right? So that they don't go back to the birth of the child. Now, I know our community was affected by it, right? Right. So we had, you know, young Black men that were, you know, moving out of town, literally moving out of town because they couldn't get out of arrearages, going to jail, losing their license, getting caught up in the justice system. But guess what? The white boys out there in the rural communities are getting the same thing. And so you know how, you know what they're saying is, you know, when the white community has a cold, you know, we got pneumonia plus COVID on top of it, right? And so you know, so that's how we were able to start you know, righting these wrongs. And it's important, man. You know, family is important, you know, and you know, you wonder, I grew up not ever knowing my father, never got a chance to meet him, never got a chance to see him. And I always tell people, I always equated, you know, if you drew a line down the middle of my body, all of this side, I knew everything about my mother's side. And all of this side was just completely Black, right? I mean, knew absolutely nothing. Then when I got a chance to meet my brother, my father was deceased before I met him. Well, I never got to meet him, but my father was deceased before I met my sibling. And then when I met my brother, I mean, within a matter of days, all of this side started filling up, you know, and you know, and answers, you know, to things I never knew. I never knew why I liked to fight. I never knew why I wanted to be a boxer growing up. Never knew why I started out as a DJ. My father was a DJ. My brother was a producer. Never knew why I produced music. My brother was a producer of music. Never knew why I was a Marine. My other brother was a Marine. We looked just alike, right? All of this stuff that I had no clues as to why my behavior, my thought process, the way I look, all of this stuff, I had no idea until I was able to walk into that house and see my biological side. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get to see that till I was 35 years old for the first time ever. Never even saw a picture of my father for the first time until I was 35 years old. And it made every difference in my life. Every difference.
And so you think that this bill would help prevent those types of situations?
Yes.
From happening?
Yes, I think it will not stop it all, but it will put more, give children an opportunity to see who their parents are. And we need that, because a lot of things we do, we just don't understand why the hell we're doing it, right? Mm-hmm. Right. And then you look at generation up, generation, you know, before you be like, oh, okay, did the same thing, right? And a lot of them things, think about this from a corrective standpoint. You know, we tend to repeat, whether it's good or bad. We repeat things generationally.
Absolutely.
Them genetics, man, is strong.
I know. We're running out of time, but if people want to know in your district how they can be involved, how they can find out what's going on, how they can let their voices be heard, how can they do that?
So we feel like we are the most accessible elected person in Shelby County. You know, so everybody got my cell number, everybody got my personal cell number. Everybody got, you know, got me on social media. In fact, I think I put it up there at TN Rep Parkinson. That's our Facebook, that's our Instagram, that's our Snapchat, that's our Twitter, that's the website at tnrepparkinson.com. And you know, and you know, they can just get us through every single medium that you can imagine. And so you know, and I say, you know, hey, you know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of work, a ton of work. Our people, we got to band together, and we got to all, you know, be part of this lift, because it's a heavy lift. And but I love what I do, and I thank God for allowing me to walk in my purpose, for doing what I'm doing. And I say everybody, join in, come on, lock arms, let's do what we need to do so that our people can have a better quality of life. And that ain't no political shit. That's real shit.
So, and also you go by Touche, and I don't know, is that a nickname? Is that a ethnic African name? Where did that come from?
Now, touche means good point. You see, I've been making all these good points on your show all day, all night tonight, right? Right. Not, but actually, I was in the Marine Corps, right? United States Marine Corps. Thank God for the Marine Corps. That's been life-saving. That was life-saving for me. And my drill instructor, on my birthday, I turned 18 in Marine Corps boot camp. And right around my birthday, he said, he cracked a joke on me. He said I look like Touche the Turtle on the cartoon, right? And that was our one laugh in boot camp, right? The one laugh that we got. And so every day it was repeated so everybody can laugh again, ha 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 ha, right? Touche, right? And so that became my nickname from Marine Corps boot camp.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you have any closing words for our listeners? I know you have a lot of things on your platform: education, access to public education for everybody, access to healthcare for all Tennesseans. And I probably need to have you on again. So
yeah. Stop being a stranger. Stop acting funny, acting bougie over there. Stop acting bougie over there.
I tell you what, one thing I know about you is you are going to show up and you are going to be 100% yourself, 100%
always
of the time.
Right.
And I know I posed a lot of challenges to your legislation, but I believe that truth should be at the core of our justice system. And so if this means, some people being uncomfortable, some people maybe not getting what they want, being more cost, maybe it will cost more money. I don't know. But I think it is important that people know who they are. And I think it's more traumatic when you have to find out some other way down the road.
Yeah, very true. And let me say this, I honestly appreciate the pushback because I believe iron sharpens iron, right? And I better know what the hell I'm talking about, right? Look, coming up against a brilliant mind like yourself, right? I better know what the hell I'm talking about, right? And that's what I love. I love, you got to keep in mind, you as an attorney, DHS got more attorneys than you can imagine, right? Health and Human Services got more attorneys than you can imagine. I have nobody's degrees, none, right? I am not an attorney, but I did sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. And so I do, going up against these attorneys and these legal minds who I think are sharp and, it makes me have to, raise up to my highest level, my A game. Right. And so I appreciate the pushback, and the more pushback you get, the more that you get to dig deeper and peel them layers back and find them answers and make sure that your argument and your case and what you're pushing for is on point. And that is going to improve somebody's quality of life. We're not trying to tear anybody's quality of life down. We want to improve people's quality of life. And this matters.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And you are running unopposed. So that
for the first time,
I like to think that means that you're doing a great job. And
well, it means I ain't pissing nobody off. That's all it means, right? Usually people that are outspoken like myself, somebody's gonna get mad, right? And the education folks, I guess, since we killed the ASD, the education folks, they ain't got nothing else to fight about, so they ain't throwing $200,000 in my race and trying to beat me up and sending ugly pictures through the mail. So they find the worst picture they can find on the internet and send it in the mail. They can just send the picture by itself. They ain't got to put no caption on it. And people be like, I ain't voting for that ugly. Oh, ugly.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this knowledge. And we'll be looking forward. So will we see this bill next session or? Okay.
Yeah. We'll see. Try to define paternity fraud and start getting something in the code so we can start looking from the lens of, the harm that it could cause if we don't fix it on front end.
All right. Well, thank you
All right.
so much for being here, for educating us, and for entertaining as always. I see your T-shirt says, "I am not a politician. I am a servant who happened to get elected."
Right. And then it's like,
oh, black and elected. There
back
we
and
go.
elected, baby.
There we go. All right. Good night. Good night.
Good night. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Great
You're
show.
welcome.
All right.
Have a good night.